With the release of Divine Set 4 Destined Showdown, the Fated Ones have received further support in order to improve their decks. Today, we will be taking a look at the Descending Wings of Miracles and see how much the deck has grown. The Fated One of Miracles revolves around a tempo playstyle, wanting to utilize powerful generics in order to overwhelm the opponent. This deck can generate a considerable amount of power and defense due to the quality of the rearguard's use, and it can also pop out very quick due to the very minimal costs. This deck has very good consistency, being able to search key components and also revive components that are needed due to the skill of the Vanguard, making this deck a very easy deck for newcomers to start with. Although being a Catter deck makes it very expensive to build due to the cost of the generics. Starting with our right line, we have Patrol of Gust Ventesta as our grade 1 and Knight of Great Advanced Ascensior as our grade 2. Ventesta allows you to call itself to rear and soul charge when rolled upon by Knight of Great Advanced Ascensior. When you are going for him during turn 2, he can be used as a easy rearguard to call, allowing you to rush early in the game. But he can also be a dependable booster due to his continuous skill, allowing himself to gain plus 2k power as long as you have a Vanguard with Rezael in its name. Ascensior himself allows you to call a grade 2 or less card from the drop when he is rode upon by a grade 3 with Rezael in its name. Moving on to the Vanguard himself, we have the Fated One of Miracles, Rezael. On attack, this unit can counterblast 1 and choose up to 2 cards from drop with different grades and a total grade less than or equal to the number of cards in your damage zone. This allows you to generate a few additional attacks, up to 2 more attacks, but it can also help you generate a board depending on your board state. Its Divine skill allows you to Soul Blast 1 and return all critical triggers from your drop to the deck and shuffle it, and then for the turn this unit gets Drive plus 1. Until the end of this fight, you cannot write units without the Rezael name, and you get the Red Tech skill that allows you to heal 1 damage whenever you would lose, but you checked a trigger in the damage check that is not a heal trigger, allowing this deck to get a second chance of life even if you don't check a miracle heal. Moving on to the support, our most important card of the deck is the grade 1 promo, Selgaon. This good boy's text says, when this unit boosts, if you have more rearguards than your opponent or you play in order this turn, this unit gets plus 5k power until the end of that battle, and at the end of that battle, you can retire this unit to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose a card from among them, put it into hand, and put the rest onto the bottom of the deck. This allows you to gain more advantage by looking through the deck, and it also helps you thin the deck in order to compress and potentially check more triggers. Being able to retire itself is a great advantage in this deck, as it opens a slot for you to revive a unit, and it can also revive itself with Rezael's skill due to the nature of the deck. Complementing this deck's playstyle, we have the T-Fault package, which moves want to run competitively. The T-Fault package consists of the Order Wisdom of the Beginning to open the world, and Forefront Knight T-Fault. Wisdom of the Beginning is an order card which allows you to counterblast 1 and draw 2 cards. You then have to call 2 rearguards that have the same grade or less than your current Vanguard. If you call T-Fault, its skill will automatically be active, allowing you to Soul Blast 1, look at the top 3 cards of the deck, and then you can call any normal unit among them, or if it's an order, you can add it to hand instead. This allows you to easily build your board while also simultaneously making Selgaon active. Our next engine that we run in the deck is the Church Liel Amorta package, consisting of the Set Order, a chant of charity that fills the church, Fatal One of Time, Liel Amorta, and Divine Sister, Financier. Financier allows you to, when place Soul Blast 1 and search your deck for the church itself and place it directly into the order zone. This allows you to bypass the restriction of playing 1 order per turn. But if you have the church in hand, you can manually set it from your hand, which allows you to also make Selgaon active, as this counts as playing an order for the turn. The Church is a card that can be used when your unit is attacked to choose a unit that is not being attacked and move it to the Guardian Circle. That unit is, however, bound at the end of the battle instead of being put to the drop zone. This allows you to have extra defense by utilizing your existing rearguards on the board instead of your hand. Liel Amorta's part in the package allows it to become an additional perfect guard for the deck by returning 2 bound units to the bottom of the deck and discarding 1 card to choose one of your units with Divine skill, and it cannot be hit until the end of the battle. The new support Rezael received in Divine Set 4 is the Grade 0 Knight of Perspicacity Castile. When this unit is placed on rearguard, if you have a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Rezael in its card name, choose one of your units and that unit gets plus 5k power until end of turn. If this unit was placed by your Vanguard's ability, it gets plus 10k instead. This allows any unit on the board to reach high numbers depending on how it is called, but it being a Grade 0 also bypasses Rezael's restriction of having to call units according to the number of damage. So, for example, if you only have 2 damage and you want to call a Grade 2 alongside with a booster, you can call that Grade 2, but you can then call Castile because 2 plus 0 still equals 2. And it also has a skill on the back row. If you have a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Rezael in its card name, it gets intercept and can intercept from the back row, giving the deck a little bit more defense. Moving on to the previous support Rezael has received from the previous few sets of the Divine's era, we have the Grade 2 Knight of Bowstreaks Nilberis. Its auto on-play skill allows it to gain plus 10k power when it is called by a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard's ability, but at its second skill is what matters the most, as at the end of the battle this unit attack, if you have a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Rezael in its card name, you can Energy Blast 3 and put this card into Soul, draw a card and look at the top card of your deck and put it on the top or bottom of the deck. This allows Nilberis to function as a filter tool, allowing you to look at the top card of the deck. If it is a trigger, you can put it on the top of the deck, assuming if you want that trigger as a defensive, or if you have your Divine skill active, you can take that trigger as a further defensive tool. Next, we have Aerial Sage, a Grade 1 that says during the battle this unit boosted. If you have a Vanguard with Rezael in its card name, this unit gets plus 5k power. However, you do want to use this to boost Rezael and Rezael only, as its second skill allows you to discard 1 card from hand in order to countercharge 1, and it gets an additional plus 2k for the battle, allowing it to reach even higher magic numbers. Our next piece of support is Knight of Gentle Beauty Nobia. When this unit is placed on rear, if you have a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Rezael in its card name, you can counterblast 1 to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 Grade 3 or less card from among them, call it to rear, and put the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. If it is your battle phase, reveal it and put it into your hand instead of calling it. Besides being a board builder, she also acts as a further deck thinning tool in order to allow you to check more triggers. Her other skill allows her to, when attack, you can Soul Blast 1 if you have a Vanguard with Rezael in its card name and gain plus 10k power, allowing her to reach even higher numbers. Our final piece of support is the generic Divine Sister Biscotti. She has the same purpose as Nobia, being a deck filter tool. However, she can only work on Persona right. Despite this, her cost is basically free, as you can replace the Counterblast with an Energy Blast. Aside from that, she also has a skill from hand. If she is put on Guardian Circle or discarded from your hand while riding from the right deck, you can pay the same difference between costs and draw 1 card. For your trigger lineup, you want to run 8 critical triggers, especially in Rezael due to the Divine skill being able to recycle critical triggers. But aside from that, you also want to run front triggers, which allow your front row to reach even higher numbers. Though some might want to run draw triggers due to being able to further filter through the deck, making your Divine skill even more potent if your deck is very thin. For your over trigger, it doesn't really matter which over trigger you want to use in Rezael, because the over trigger doesn't really do much of a difference. You can run the original Kenner OT Amorta Noah to get more drive checks. You can even opt for more attacks using Vuln, but usually people would want to run Eidos Pharaoh, who acts as an additional critical while also being able to recycle a card from hand. For some extra tips in the deck, due to Rezael being able to revive units from the drop and Nilberis being able to be put into your soul as the cost for his skill, you essentially have an infinite source for your soul, which is why you may want to run cards that leverage your soul due to being able to continuously loop the cost. Cards like Painkiller Angel and Knight of Piercing Cadwalla use the soul in order to generate more advantage by either drawing or getting specific cards into your hand, which allows you to gain more advantage. If you run the Liel package, you want to use Liel as a rear guard, then during the opponent's turn, you can use the Church in order to call Liel to the Guardian Circle from your rear guard. This is because you can use Liel's skill to recycle 2 cards in the bind zone back to the deck. Then Liel herself is bound, which means if you use another Liel during another attack, she can loop the Liel back to the deck, essentially giving you an infinite PG. Due to the nature of Rezael being able to recycle crits back to the deck, you want to ditch your crits as fast as possible to set up for the Divine Skill turn. Aside from that, if you run the Liel Amorta package, you can use the Church to call these from rear if you ever call them using Rezael's skill in order to leverage their massive shield. Using Liel Amorta, you can then recycle them back to the deck outside of their Divine Skill. For some sample deck list, the following is a deck that made top 8 in a recent WGP that occurred during the recording of this video. The deck has very little creative liberties outside of the few flex spot the deck has, making it a very simple competitive deck. However, this is the list that I prefer, using Rezael's key components to its max and having very little generics outside of Sargon, which is the best card in Keter overall. You can also be a Giga Chat and use Akina's list during the fight versus Welstra, which runs no heal triggers, wanting to gamble with the 1 heal you get from the Divine Skill. For some closing thoughts, Rezael is a very good deck in terms of consistency and speed, being able to reliably search your key pieces and build a board, making this a very good Keter deck, though it is a bit bland in terms of flavor. However, this deck lacks in terms of rearguard power outside of Persona right turns. There is still hope for the future, as this deck is a main character deck which is slated to get further support later down the line. Hopefully, the next support will bring Rezael to the top. That is all from me. I would appreciate if you gave a like and subscribe to the channel to support me in my hobby. And also, comment down below if you'd like to see any decks outside of the main character ones. I would like to see what other decks I can explore. That is all from me. See you later. Bye bye.